Welcome to Behind the Veil, a video podcast powered by the national nonprofit media platform American Muslim Today. It's Tuesday, June 10th. I'm your host, Maya Gayler. Dave Portnoy, founder of Barstool Sports, recently sat down with NPR's Morning Edition to discuss politics, identity, and the cultural climate in the United States. Portnoy, whose media empire is known for its large male audience and sports gambling content, said his political stance is more an indictment of the Democrats than a full endorsement of Donald Trump. He emphasized frustrations with what he called woke politics and a lack of blunt talk from Democratic leaders. Although identified with Barstool conservatism, a non-religious, anti-woke, and libertarian-leaning brand of politics, Portnoy expressed support for abortion rights and more lenient immigration views than Trump's administration. He stated, quote, "If somebody isn't here legally, but they're a productive member of society with no issues, I don't think that you go say, 'Get out of here.'" Portnoy also addressed long-standing criticisms over language and past behavior. He acknowledged using racial slurs in social media posts, saying he would not repeat them today and that he had not understood their impact at the time. He recently denounced the use of anti-Semitic language at a Barstool bar in Philadelphia. Despite leaning right in recent elections, Portnoy said he has voted for Democrats before and would again, provided he is not, in his words, demonized for his views or expressions. President Donald Trump's administration has enacted a sweeping travel ban affecting 12 countries, citing national security concerns. The proclamation bars entry from nations including Afghanistan, Iran, Libya, and Yemen, and imposes partial restrictions on 7 others. Exemptions include lawful permanent residents and those with existing visas. According to a release by the White House, these countries were found to be deficient with regards to screening and vetting and determined to pose a very high risk to the United States. Meanwhile, the proclamation partially restricts the entry of nationals from 7 countries: Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. During his first term, Trump announced a ban on travelers from 7 countries, a policy that went through several iterations before it was upheld by the Supreme Court in 2018. Former President Joe Biden reversed the ban in 2021. Turning now to Los Angeles, where protests have escalated following a wave of federal immigration raids carried out under President Donald Trump's renewed immigration enforcement agenda. Demonstrations began Friday in neighborhoods with large Latino populations, including Westlake and Paramount. These areas became focal points after immigration and customs enforcement officers arrested over 120 individuals in a single day. Reports indicate that 44 undocumented immigrants were detained at a single job site, with an additional 77 arrests made across the greater Los Angeles area. What started as peaceful gatherings quickly turned into violent confrontations. Over the weekend, protesters clashed with law enforcement and self-driving vehicles were set on fire. The 101 freeway, one of the city's main thoroughfares, was temporarily shut down as protesters blocked traffic. By Sunday, the unrest intensified. Protesters surrounded the downtown federal building where ICE detainees were allegedly being held. Authorities reported that more than 1,000 individuals were involved in the confrontation. Police deployed flashbang grenades and pepper spray to disperse crowds, while officers on horseback were reportedly targeted with incendiary devices. On Monday, protests continued but showed signs of de-escalation. Though police used stun grenades to disperse lingering demonstrations, the overall number of participants and violent incidents declined. The decision to deploy the National Guard has ignited a political and legal firestorm. President Trump bypassed California Governor Gavin Newsom by invoking a rarely used federal law, citing the protest as a rebellion against federal authority. This marks the first time since 1965 that National Guard troops have been deployed to a U.S. state without the governor's consent. Governor Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass condemned the move, asserting that local law enforcement was capable of managing the situation. California has since filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration alleging that the deployment is unconstitutional and infringes on the state's rights. According to the White House, the National Guard's role is to support federal agencies such as ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, protecting personnel, not to engage in immigration raids or routine policing. The Pentagon has also placed 700 Marines on high alert, signaling the federal government's readiness to escalate enforcement if deemed necessary. Meanwhile, the White House has set an ambitious new target for immigration enforcement: 3,000 arrests per day nationwide. In May alone, ICE arrested 239 undocumented individuals in the LA area, a number expected to rise in the coming weeks. The United States and China resumed high-level trade talks in London this week. The negotiations are taking place at Lancaster House following an earlier round in Geneva. China's Vice Premier He Lifeng is leading Beijing's delegation, while the U.S. side includes Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Tensions remain over issues such as rare earth exports, U.S. immigration curbs on Chinese students, and access to advanced technologies. President Trump has accused China of failing to meet obligations under a previous tariff agreement. Meanwhile, China is pushing to ease restrictions and has suggested a green channel for rare earth exports to the European Union. Chinese exports to the U.S. dropped by nearly 13% in May compared to April, according to Beijing's customs data. That's it for now. Thank you for joining me on Behind the Veil. If you value our public service journalism, please support American Muslim Today, a 501c3 nonprofit, by following us on social media at American Muslim Today or donating at AmericanMuslimToday.com. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, I'm Maya Gayler.